let's look at this. It says, which situation can be best represented by the equation y equals 12x plus 40? Well, before we look at the choices, let's look over here for a minute. We know that this is in the form of a linear function, y equals mx plus b. We know that m is the slope. We know b is the y-intercept. But something with word problems that we have to really remember is that the word per or each means you're going to need a variable with whatever that was mentioned with. Okay, a variable, as we know, is an unknown and represented by a letter. So now let's look through here and see what we can find. It says a new streaming service charges an initial one-time fee. Your one-time fee is your y-intercept. So I'm going to go ahead and write it the way it's read here. It can be written two ways, but it's a one-time fee of $12. So that would be y equals 12 all by itself, and a $40 fee per month. So that would be plus 40x. Well, that does not match, so that is not our answer. The next one says it charges an initial one-time fee of 40. So I'm going to do it the way I did, and then I'll show you how it can be different. One-time fee and $12 per month. At first, you might not think that matches, but it actually does, because this can also be written as y equals 12x plus 40. Okay, so we know this is it, but we're going to check all of them to make sure. The next one says a new streaming service charges $12 per month. All right, well, that also has a 12x. I wonder what's happening here. And another $40 per movie. Holy moly, that's a lot. So that would have another variable. So that is definitely not it. Okay. Now this says, or that would also be an X, I'm sorry. Depends on how many, well, no, it would be a Y, because it depends on how many movies you watch. The next one says a new streaming service charges an initial one-time fee of 12 and a one-time cancellation fee of 40. There were no variables in that one, so that is not our answer. So B is definitely your answer. So again, always look for those words, per and each. That's where you need a variable. And it may be in a different order like it was here, y equals 40 plus 12x. But you got to understand that that 40 was right here, and that 12x is right here. All right, let's go to the next one. According to the values in the table, which linear equation is true? Well, let me just give you some quick advice. If you see an equation or equations and a table, go to Desmos. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to type in each of these equations. The first one was y equals 3x minus 1. The second, y equals negative 3x minus 1. Be careful to make sure you get all the differences. Y equals 3x plus 1. And y equals negative 3x minus 1. Okay, so we've got 3x minus 1, negative 3x minus 1, 3x plus 1, and negative 3x minus 1 again. I think this should have been a plus here, but we're just, yeah, I think it probably should have. So let's go ahead and change that to a plus. And then we'll change it over here as well. Okay? All right. So now we have this table. So we know that the equation that is going to work for this table has to have an x of negative 2 that gives you a y of negative 7. So let's just start there. If my x equals negative 2, this one gives me 7. Well, that's good news. This one gives me -5. That is not what we're looking for. We are looking for that 7, that -7 right there. Oh gosh, I'm glad I looked again. This didn't give us -7 either. It gave us +7. So let's get rid of that one also. And this one gave us a 5. Nope, we're looking for -7. And guess what? I think there's only one left. With x is -2, this equation gave us a -7. But you know what? We're going to be careful. Let's try the rest of them. Yep, x is -1 gave us a -4. So that's good so far, but I'm going to keep checking. X is 0 should give us a -1. X is 0 gave us a -1. All right, and we've got one more. Let's check that. X is 1 should give us a 2. X is 1 gave us a 2. So definitely this one up here, y equals 3x minus 1, is your answer. So again, when you see equations or just one equation and a table or more tables, this is how you can match them up and know that you're absolutely right without a doubt. All right, that was without a doubt. I'm not sure what word I said. All right, here we go. This says which table represents the graph. Well, the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to use my handy dandy highlighter to plot points. So let's see what we're going to do here. This says -2, -4. I always do this. I know it may sound crazy to you, but when I'm plotting points or coordinate pairs, which they're also called, I know that the first number x goes right or left, depending on whether it's positive or negative. And I know my y goes up and down. And I know it seems silly to do that, but I'd rather be right. Okay? So I'm going to go to -2, -4. So I start at 0, -2, -4 is on my line. So let's try the next one. 0, 1. Well, when I've got a 0, I don't go anywhere, right or left. And then the 1 is positive, so it tells me to go up. That's also on our line. Wow, we're doing pretty good so far. And this one is a 2, 6. So again, 2 is positive, 1, 2, and 6 is positive. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And look at that, we already found our answer. That's it. But let's check the other ones just to make sure. I can tell you right now this isn't right because that's a 0, 0. And if you'll notice right there, the line does not go through 0, 0. So that one is out already. Now this one is tricky because it says -2, -4, which is on the line, but it says -1, -1, which is also on the line, but then it has this 1, 0. They were definitely trying to trick you with this last one. They wanted you to think that you had to go up and then stay still. That's not true. You had to go +1 and then stay true. So be super careful because they will get tricky. A is definitely your answer there. All right.